Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Hope you all had a fabulous weekend. I'm in the house here with Evan Brand. Evan, how we doing, my friend?
Happy Monday, man. Hey, look, I always talk about the sunny weather, but I'm going to complain today. It's rainy and gray skies. So today's a good day to just hang out. I'm going to sit by my infrared sauna lamp that I have here and just try to stay warm.
Hey, that's wonderful, man. Really good idea. Well, I'm excited to dig in today in this topic of skin health and autoimmunity. I think
This
this
is
is a
huge. This
Yeah,
is,
it's a powerful topic. I mean, we know that the immune system and the gut are intimately connected because about 80% of your immune cells live in your gut, in the malt and the gall, the mucus-associated lymphoid tissue. Lymphoid meaning lymphocytes, which is another name for blood cells, our white blood cells. And then we have our gall, which is our gastric-associated lymphoid tissue. That's in the stomach, and then the malt is in the small intestine. So we know the gut and the immune function interact totally. And then we also know that the gut's a mirror of the skin. People that have inflamed gut, dysbiosis, infections, malabsorption, that shows and manifests itself in the skin. And we have pathologies that can even manifest from various rashes, from lupus rashes, erythema, to psoriasis, to vitiligo, to eczema, other types of various dermatitises, to alopecia with the hair. So, I mean, you name it, right? The skin is a window into what's happening in the gut.
yeah, I've got some statistics here. Was a good way to open up. This is from the CDC. This is actually 6 years old. So it's probably even worse than what this study shows. But they were looking at from 2010 to, or from 2000 to 2010, the percentage of children age 17 and younger with eczema or any kind of skin allergy, and the levels across basically all races pretty much doubled just from 2000 to 2010. So I bet 2010 to 2020, we're probably going to see an even more rapid spike of skin issues. I mean, I can't tell you when the last time I went out in public and did not see someone with the skin issue. I mean, you go to a shopping mall, you go to a grocery store, like you're going to see skin issues. It's a very, very common thing. And even just look back at some of my old YouTube videos. I remember, Justin, you saying, man, I bet you got something going on in your gut because my acne used to be so bad on my chin.
Yeah.
And it was all the dysbiosis in my gut. So we're definitely going to chat about that today too, about
Yeah. And you would
infections.
have a lot of rosacea too, which is just a sign of inflammation in the skin. Now, that's important because when I see someone that has some kind of a skin issue, that tells me that there's some type of autoimmune or internal inflammatory thing happening inside the body, especially the gut. So when I see skin issues, the first thing I look at is potential food allergens. And we would move someone to like a paleo/autoimmune paleo template. And then we know other nutrients are really important. So if we have poor digestion, the chance of us breaking down fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A go down. We know the ability to digest and absorb and assimilate zinc goes down. Healthy fish oil fats like omega-3 go down. Vitamin C, which is really important for that collagen matrix, goes down. Biotin, which is a B vitamin family. Selenium, silica, vitamin K2, sulfur amino acids, vitamin E, vitamin D. Of course, a lot of our collagen amino acids, which are very high in proline, hydroxyproline, glycine, which are really important building blocks for the skin. So we need to absorb and assimilate and utilize all of these important nutrients, and we need good digestive function. We need a gut lining that's not inflamed, and we need enough adequate enzymes and acids to be able to break everything down. And of course, dysbiosis, SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, and or parasite infections in H. pylori could easily be a factor that prevents that from happening optimally.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me take you down the zinc rabbit hole a little further because this is really important based on my history with skin issues. I had H. pylori. I showed up positive with it on my second test of my stool. I first showed up with parasites, cleared those out. Second round on the retest, Justin and I see this every single week on lab results. Sometimes we clear out a client's gut of some infection, and then on the retest, a new infection shows up. And that's what happened for me. H. pylori showed up. And so if I was eating grass-fed steaks, I was eating bison, I was eating all these really good high-quality pastured meats. However, I was not getting any of the zinc to be cleaved off of those meats because how poor my digestion was. And also there's a marker we look at called calprotectin. My levels were elevated. So I had gut inflammation. So even if I had good meat, it's not about what you eat. It's about what you digest from what you eat, which is why we always hit on the acid and enzyme piece so much. So for me, I mean, I could have used supplemental enzymes, and I did, but that's not the That's not the root cause. I had to dig deeper. So, we try to compare conventional naturopathic and functional medicine. Like a naturopath may say, hey, you may need some extra acid and enzymes, but they may never go to the next level of investigation, which is, hey, do you have infections that we have to fix that explains why your acid and enzymes are low in the first place? And then just to quickly compare to the conventional medicine approach to these type of skin issues, whether they're autoimmune or not, it's going to be all the garbage that you probably already know about, steroid creams and immunomodulators, antihistamines. What else do the conventional docs do? It's not good. It doesn't work.
You have your antibiotics, you have your immunosuppressants, you have your corticosteroids, which kind of fit into that same family. And then you have your synthetic vitamin A type of retinol. And then you have the internal vitamin A that's synthetic, which would be like the not the tetracycline. The tetracycline is the common antibiotic given. But then you have Accutane, which is a vitamin A analog. And you got to be careful if you're a woman, because if you get pregnant while on that, you can have birth defects because it is teratogenic.
Oh my gosh.
So those are the common things for the most part. It's going to be antibiotics, immunosuppressants, corticosteroids. They have the vitamin A. And don't get me wrong, the vitamin A can be helpful. I recommend using vitamin A on the skin. Try to do it with retinoic acid, natural derivatives, which you don't need a prescription for. And that can be really helpful because it can provide important building blocks for collagen elasticity. And then you can even do topical vitamin C as well. Of course, we want to get all these things internally, right? But if we can do it inside out, then we get a winning team. We can get results much faster, because if we can topically hit something, you can bring those nutrients directly to that area. And then if you can internally do it with good quality fat-soluble vitamins from animal products, from liver, from healthy grass-fed butter with the vitamin K2, of course, collagen either from bone broth or a collagen shake. These can all be amazing resources to get extra nutrition in for your body.
Well, and here's the thing I want to point out. You have to do both. You're talking about, okay, sure, do the topical stuff. Great. Instead of steroids, maybe do topical vitamin C serum, maybe some topical vitamin A. But you still always have to work backwards towards the gut. So first step, if you have skin issues, get your gut checked, get a stool test done, because it's very likely that you have some type of dysbiosis going on. Here's the thing that's crazy to me is that you'll get put on antibiotics for a skin issue. It's like, okay, so your gut is the problem. So we're going to come in with antibiotics. We're going to kill even more of your good bacteria. We're going to mess up your gut even more to try to fix your skin. That is such a backwards mindset.
Exactly. There's a couple other autoimmune conditions. We mentioned psoriasis. We mentioned vitiligo. We mentioned eczema, which is now in the last year or two starting to be thought of as an autoimmune condition. Rosacea is now starting to be thought of as an autoimmune condition. There's dermatomyositis, which is another type of condition where that dermal layer is starting to become significantly inflamed. There's epidermomyelitis bullosa, another condition. Again, these conditions, they have the same underlying mechanism. There's inflammation. The difference in the diagnoses is how the inflammation manifests.
Yeah.
If it manifests with psoriatic symptoms, right, then that's psoriasis. If it manifests in eczema symptoms, and eczema and psoriasis are very, very similar. Typically, psoriasis is a little bit more flaky. It can peel and get bloody a little bit easier. Vitiligo is going to be autoimmune that affects the melanin in the skin. And then so if you're darker skin complexion, you'll see your skin go white. Think of like Michael Jackson, right? When he started wearing the glove on the left hand, right? In the 80s, that glove was to hide the first sign of his melasma, or I should say not his melasma, his vitiligo. Melasma is another skin issue that tends to be from hyperpigmentation, primarily from hormonal issues like the birth control pill or being pregnant. They call it pregnancy mask. Again, that's not in the autoimmune camp. That's more of a hormonal thing. But gut function can have an impact on that because digestion is really important for healthy digestion is really important for metabolizing hormones because it goes and gets pumped out the liver to the gallbladder, back into the intestinal tract. And if we have bacterial overgrowth, like dysbiotic bacteria like in SIBO, that can produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And if you go to Google and type in beta-glucuronidase and estrogen, you'll find that beta-glucuronidase uncleaves conjugated estrogens. Conjugated means there's a protein bound to the estrogen so then it can get metabolized. When it deconjugates it, it pulls the estrogen off that protein, and now it can go back into systemic circulation and have a hormonal-like effect. So things like gut function can play a huge impact with hormones, and those hormones can easily impact your skin as well.
Oh, and you tied it all together in the end. That was
Bingo.
beautiful.
That's it.
See, so here's the thing people have to realize. You can measure this stuff. We measure beta-glucuronidase on every single stool test. And here's the really, really fun thing that Justin and I love so much about our jobs is that within 6 weeks, we could see beta-glucuronidase come down by 500, 600, 1,000 points. You know, we may see someone at 3,000, which is too high. And this means, hey, look, they're recirculating not only hormones, but could be toxins too that get conjugated, as you mentioned. And so that's not good. And this is why if someone has like a heavy metal toxicity problem, but they have dysbiosis, you have to fix the gut too, because to detox effectively, you've got to have that open loop system, not a closed loop system. So when we come in with probiotics and usually phase 2 or phase 3, just depending on what our protocol looks like, we're going to see beta-glucuronidase drop. We're typically going to use some enzymes. You mentioned the liver support. Liver nutrients can help. Sometimes methylation nutrients can help. One thing we forgot to mention so far about skin is the topical irritants. So why don't we chat about that? Like soaps, shampoos, conditioners, perfumes, artificial fragrances. Oh my God, I should have took a picture. I could have put this on my Facebook page, man. It would have went viral. These 2 girls, we were in Target. We were going to take the baby into Target to go look for something. I don't remember what it was. And these 2 girls were in the parking lot, and I saw them with a huge bottle, and they were spraying each other. And I thought, oh, what are they spraying? And so oh, whatever. But we get in the store, and we're standing right next to these girls. I thought I have to ask them what this is. I said, can I ask what you all were spraying on each other? And they both, they both giggle. And she goes, get it. It's in your purse. Show them. And they pull it out, and it's a giant bottle of Glade air freshener, apple cinnamon scent. And I just looked at it. I just looked at it, and I was like, so you're all using air freshener as perfume? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I should have said, can I take your picture? That's so cool. And then posted it online or something. But I just.
Yeah, as like a warning, right? Hey, do not do this.
So, I mean, we could go into the reasons. If you just look up, if you just Google Uber fragrances ban or something, you can read it. I did a whole paper. I wrote like 20 different studies on my petition about the different artificial fragrances and the phthalates and all the endocrine disrupting things in those. So, I mean, please don't spray yourself with air freshener. That's just insane.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of junk in there. And a lot of these things, you know, if you're female, are really a big concern because you have a hormonal rhythm to your monthly cycle, and that can easily be disrupted. Men as well, because men, you know, their hormone rhythm is more flatline, but there's a lot of xenoestrogens in the environment, from plastics to pesticides to fluorides, to various components in cooking compounds, soy, those kind of things, right? You don't want to be a soy boy. So these type of xenoestrogens are everywhere. They can affect guys, but they can really disrupt women's cycles, because when you start dosing up high amounts of estrogen, that can start to decrease follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. And then when that hormone starts to decrease, then you don't have the signaling to the follicle to grow a healthy follicle. And then that can disrupt the whole entire estrogen progesterone rhythm, from the follicular phase to ovulation to the luteal phase to menstruation to starting all over again.
Yep. So not to go too off of that topic, because you were going somewhere good, but I just want to restate, make sure you clean up all your personal care stuff. It could be your lotion. It could be, like I said, shampoo, conditioner. You can go on the environmental working group and you can look on there. Justin also likes the Skin Deep reference. You could
just the same thing. It's just a different branding. Yeah.
Oh, different branding. Okay.
Yep. And I use a brand called Marie Veronique. She's a great brand. She's a great biochemist out of Berkeley, California, and she creates a lot of these skin products, you know, homemade in small batches, and she basically puts a lot of high quality nutrients in supplemental form in a lot of her creams, and she's really good. And she comes typically one of the lowest on the environmental working group. But just take a look. There's a handful of good brands. There's another one called Michelle is another decent brand that's out there. I think Jessica Alba's brand, I think it's the Honest Company.
Yeah, she's got some good stuff.
There's one product I think that comes out really good that I've had patients tell me they have a good success with. I think it's her moisturizer. But just take a look at it and see. And that's very helpful, because you can they have a really good retinol product. They have a really good vitamin C and like kind of amino acid, ferulic acid, I think, compound. And then they also have some oil-based products that are very high in vitamin K2 and a lot of these really good essential fatty acids, which are good for your skin. You know, we just want to be holistic. Do that, but make sure you have the diet dialed in first. If you're on a budget, work on the food stuff, work on the internal nutrients first. And then if you have extra resources and you want to allocate, go to the external stuff second. I find it's the opposite. People are going to the external stuff first and the diet's not dialed in yet. Do the opposite. Internal stuff first, collagen, bone broth, anti-inflammatory diet, all the nutrients and minerals that I mentioned. Get that dialed in, get the gut cleared out, get the bacteria cleared out, make sure you're digesting your foods, and then also make sure your motility is moving. You're having a passing 12 inches of stool at least a week. I mean, a day. I'm sorry, not a week. 12 inches of stool a day, obviously at least 7 a week. That's really important because if you're not having that good, healthy bowel movement, you'll be reabsorbing toxins.
You got to
poop,
folks.
then be pushed out the skin, right? The solution to pollution is dilution, and your skin is a mirror of what's happening in your gut.
And also the solution is pooping, because if you're not pooping, you're going to have skin issues. I've literally seen people improve their skin issues just by pooping from once every 3 days to pooping every day. Their skin got better just by giving them some herbs to help things move along a bit.
Yeah, and if your skin's excessively dry across the board, I always look at essential fatty acid intake as well as digestion. Like, all right, number one, are we getting enough of these good fish oils, these good vitamin K2, these good saturated fats from healthy animal products, coconut oil, avocados, monounsaturated palm? Are we getting enough of this? Are we able to digest it? How are your stools looking? Are your stools sinking or floating? Right? Remember that old expression, oil and water, right? They kind of want to separate. So you have a really fatty stool because you didn't break down your fat. You have water, so the stool will sit on top and float more. It'll maybe look more clay colored and blonde as well. So if you're seeing that, that's a big sign that you are not breaking down your essential fatty acids properly, and that we really got to ratchet up the enzymes, the HCl, and or maybe more bile salts and or lipase meaning lipid-based enzymes.
Yep, well said. Your poop has to sink. It's very common. I mean, 90% of the time when we run a stool test on people, we're going to see elevated steatocrit. Maybe it's not off the chart, but that's a fecal fat marker we look at. I've seen people as high as 35%, meaning 35% of their poop is fat. That's crazy. You do not want that. Ideally, it's like below detectable limits.
100%. So
what have you seen?
General,
what's the highest you've seen on steatocrit? Do you know?
I've seen it in the mid to upper 20s before.
Okay.
And these people, because they're reporting back, hey, how are your stools looking? Oh, they're floating. All right, there's an issue. I don't need a lab at that point to tell me, but most of the time we're going to see, increase in steatocrit when we see those clinical symptoms.
Yep. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the histamine issue, and it's that we've hit on this in other podcasts, but that with gut bacteria, like bacterial overgrowth, that does mess up your ability to break down histamine from the diet. So that's why some people say low histamine diets help, but that's still not the root cause. It's just that there's probably a malabsorption and dysbiosis issue causing you not to digest your histamines, or break them down rather.
Correct. So when we get deeper into like the diagnoses, just remember the diagnosis is a manifestation of inflammation and how that inflammation is presenting itself. Inflammation that presents in certain ways gets classified as one condition versus another. A lot of times the underlying way to go about it is very, very similar. And a lot of times the nutrients are very similar. So don't think like, oh, I have vitiligo and this person has psoriasis. It's like a totally different thing. Now, in the eyes of the dermatologist, it may be, right? Because they may say, oh, we're going to give you some kind of a bleaching compound or some kind of immunosuppressant, where over here it's like, oh, we're going to give you more corticosteroids or something to help keep the itching down, right? Because they're different types of diseases with a similar autoimmunity, inflammatory mechanism happening on the inside. And of course, genetic predisposition kind of, allows one disease to express itself over another.
Yeah, well said. And it's
genetics.
And then the genetics are always, they're malleable. So don't just say because my mom got XYZ, I'm destined to get that. That's not true. It's more likely, but it's not guaranteed.
Yep, 100%. And then a couple things you can see too is acanthosis nigricans is another one, and you can just Google it. But you have a hyperpigmentation, and that's commonly caused by excessive insulin. So if you're doing a lot of insulin, a lot of refined carbohydrates, you can see the acanthosis nigricans. On the back of the forearms, you can see the keratosis pilaris, which is like those little bumps that pop up. and that can happen because of essential fatty acid deficiency. So if you have poor digestion or gut infections, that can be a big issue. Of course, we have rheumatoid arthritis, which you may be able to see the joints hypertrophy in the fingers and the hip joint and the metacarpal phalangeal joint. You may see a hypertrophy because there's autoimmune attack and there's a lot of inflammation. We may see that as well. And then, of course, like autoimmune thyroid issues, we can see a lot of dry skin with autoimmune thyroid, especially in the neck too. And that can easily be from, the same underlying mechanism. So if you have an autoimmune thyroid, you could easily have some dry skin because that's going to be a big connection, and vitamin A and these essential fatty acids are important for thyroid function as well.
Yeah, my brother-in-law, it's my wife's sister's husband. He's got a triple whammy. He's got type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed as a teenager. Then he went on to develop Hashimoto's. Then he went on to develop alopecia. So once the autoimmune domino effect starts to happen, you can start to rack up the autoimmune diseases. And that's why some clients come to us and are like, look, I've got 6 different autoimmune diseases at the same time. It's the same thing. Once that leaky gut takes place, then you get the leaky skin, the leaky heart, the leaky brain, the leaky everything. So it's very, very, very common to hear multiple autoimmune issues. But the good news is you can take a lot of this stuff and turn it around. So just get your testing done. I mean, that's the first step. Dial in the diet, all the stuff, pick a step. Just don't be paralyzed. Just pick a step.
Yeah, and also excessively pale skin. That could be an anemic issue, low B12 and or iron. And there could be a pernicious anemia where it's affecting the intrinsic factor in your stomach. So you're having a harder time absorbing B12, and or just low stomach acid, and or being vegetarian, you may not get enough B12 or iron. And then that could leave your skin more pale because your red blood cell count's low, your hemoglobin's low. Hemoglobin, the heme and the myoglobin help bring a little bit of color to your skin as well. So you could look excessively pale if you don't have enough iron and or B12. And of course, the iron and B12 issues can be caused by low stomach acid, not enough animal protein or animal compounds, and or the autoimmunity that affects the intrinsic factor or the parietal cells in your stomach.
Yep. Well said.
Well, any other issues you want to address here? Of course, we talked about histamine briefly. And again, that all connects down to inflammation. The more inflamed you are, the more histamine sensitive you are. Did a podcast with Yasmina Yakelinsan, the low histamine chef, where we talk about this. She harps on the fact that, like cutting histamine out may help. Doing kind of natural histamine degranulators may help. Doing histamine enzymes like diamine oxidase may help as well, but we have to cut down the inflammation. So it still comes down to getting rid of your unique inflammation wherever it's lingering.
So here's the thing that I just found out a couple of weeks ago is that Yamina she's no longer alive.
What happened?
She passed away a few weeks ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you go on, I think it was on her Facebook page. And then I had saw her obituary she's the healing histamine chick, right? Yamina Yakelinsan, something like that. Yeah,
well, that's really sad.
It was
I had a conversation with her last year. She was really vibrant and healthy.
It was breast cancer. It says here on the obituary. She was 43.
Oh, that's really sad.
That's amazing that you got to chat with her.
Yeah, well, I send my condolences to her family. That's really sad. But she had a lot of great information that she provided. And I'm hoping that she was able to help thousands of people during her.
I know. Hopefully, her legacy will continue on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. Well, we got to wrap this thing up, but check out justinhealth.com. If you want to reach out to Justin, you can get help around the world. Doesn't matter where you are. So justinhealth.com. We can help you figure this stuff out. If you want to reach out to me, you can check out my site, evanbrand.com. We always love your comments, your feedback, and we look forward to helping you soon.
Are there any questions you wanted to answer here, Evan? I know we kind of were really, on time constraints today. Is there anything that you saw that you wanted to highlight?
I didn't see any.
Okay. All right. I think we're on the right track here. Anything else you want to say?
Not today. Just get help. Don't give up.
And I'll be back here later on this week, guys, for a live Q&A so we can get some more questions answered. I may even jump on today if I have time. But y'all here, make sure you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, give us the share, give us the bell, and we will all chat real soon. Have a phenomenal day.
Take care.
Take care.